All right, good morning. I'm Jill Teep from the University of Washington's Northwest Center for Occupational Health and Safety. Thanks for joining us today. You are logged into the informational live webinar session for the Green Chemistry and Chemical Stewardship Online Certificate Program. I'm your host this morning, along with one of our instructors, Karolina Mellor. Before we begin today's session, please note that you are currently in listening mode. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. You can access the chat box by hovering at the bottom of your screen or the top of your screen in the Zoom window and clicking on chat. Today's session is being recorded, and a link following this webinar will be sent to you for review at a later time. So with that, we're just going to kind of start with a really broad overview of what a certificate program entails, what this program specifically entails, and we're going to spend some time getting to know Karolina and what perspective she brings to this program and how she thinks this program is important, and some examples she's seen our students go on to do into the real world using the skills out of this program. So again, my name is Jill Teep. I'm your course administrator. If you have any kind of nuts and bolts questions about how this program works, how the course works, feel free to reach out to me at any time. And Karolina is one of our instructors, and she is the program coordinator for the Yale Center of Green Chemistry and Green Engineering. So what is a certificate program? It's a focused continuing education. It's focused continuing education in a particular field. It's a linked series of courses that constitutes a coherent body of knowledge in a discipline. It's designed primarily for post-baccalaureate participants, but we have used it with current collegiate students as well. It was developed by the University of Washington Professional and Continuing Education with an advisory board with professionals in private industry, government, and nonprofits as well. The course and instructors are approved by the University of Washington. So why a certificate? The courses contain practical information that's relevant for a professional working in a specialized field. The instructors are recognized authorities in the professional community. And it's an opportunity to enhance or update your skills and knowledge and learn from other professionals. And a certificate credential can facilitate career advancement. Other benefits. A certificate program like this is cohort based. I think one of the real bright spots of this program is that you get a chance to network with other industry professionals who are interested in this topic as well. We'll talk about some examples about this later, but some of the coursework includes these discussion boards where you get a chance to really plug in and hear about what other people are interested in, and then add in a topic that you are interested in. And then all of a sudden you'll have all these different people from different networks, different industries, different experiences, adding to your particular interest in, say, a product or a chemical. It's a really fun opportunity to get to know folks, and you'll find that this community is small but very supportive, and it's a wonderful community to break into. So a great opportunity for that networking while working with your skill set, your new skill set. The certificate program is also nice because it's fully online, the course schedules, and there's a flexible delivery format for you. There's less time and financial commitment than a degree program when you do a certificate, and the certificate is an academic credential. So what will you learn? It really boils down to green chemistry, toxicology, and the business side. So you'll be learning about reducing harmful substances through material decision-making and chemical design, learning to overcome common disconnect between chemical properties, toxicity, and human health, and consider how these factors influence material selection with consideration paid to viable business decisions. It's got to be a viable business decision in the end. Learning how to identify sustainability issues related to green chemistry practices and how to apply your newly acquired knowledge and skills to promote chemical stewardship. So this certificate program is made of 3 different courses, and those courses run the academic calendar from the end of September to the beginning of June. And the first course is Sustainability, Toxicity, and Human Health, and that runs September 28th to December 11th, 2020. Course 2, Principles of Green Chemistry, January 4th to March 12th, and that's the course that Karolina is an instructor for. And our third course, we close out with assessment tools for safer chemical decisions running March 29th to June 4th. And again, everything is delivered in an online format. So course 1 is our instructors for that course are Grace Lasker, Director of Health Studies at the University of Washington, Bothell, and she's also an adjunct senior lecturer for the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health Sciences for University of Washington, Seattle. And Kevin Wilhelm, he's a CEO of Sustainable Business Consulting, and he's also an instructor for the University of Washington. And this first course is really about diving into about how sustainability is a key driver of business innovation and how organizations are measured in terms of sustainability. What are terms like the triple bottom line, greenwashing, best practices? How do we start measuring what those business elements look like? This first course will also talk about understanding the fundamental ways in which the human body interacts with chemicals. We'll dive into some of those ideas around predictive toxicology, risk and exposure, and dose response. And then we'll investigate human health risks in regard to exposure to chemical agents. All these things that can happen with that exposure, from acute lethality, mutagenicity, developmental toxicity, sensitization, etc. And then we'll investigate several environmental hazards, including BPA, mercury, pesticides, examples like this. We'll dive deeper into what their impacts are. Course number 2, your instructors are Richard Morgan. He's a senior process chemist at Metal, and Karolina Mellor, who we have with us today, program coordinator from the Yale Center for Green Chemistry and Green Engineering. And in course 2, we'll learn to identify chemicals by class, recognizing structure, function relationships, and the significance of biotransformation. We'll talk about the identify chemical properties for hazard assessment. Investigate the transport and fate of toxicants in the environment, and models for prediction for effective biological systems. This is a really important one too, learning to identify the gaps in current knowledge base concerning health effects and environmental agents. And then we'll talk about concepts of persistence and bioaccumulation, and how that affects human health as well as ecological risk. And then we'll learn about historical and current roles of chemical regulations in our society, environment, and economy, reviewing the 12 principles of green chemistry while recognizing their role in innovation. And we'll analyze the efficiency of various approaches to chemical design. There'll be a review on basic chemistry nomenclature and understanding the application of green chemistry, such as assessing impacts of solvent usage and identify green chemistry alternative solvent systems. And finally, we'll understand guidelines for designing chemicals that have a lower inherent toxicity while investigating case studies for designing safer chemicals. And the third course is really putting together all of these ideas into using the tools that you are going to use into your workplace, assessing different chemicals and systems. So course 3 really dives deep on these assessment tools, methodology, accompanying decision rules, including the US EPA Alternative Assessment Methodology. And we'll dive deep into OSHA's toolkit for transitioning to safer chemicals and additional tools designed for workers. Recognize decision-making frameworks for selecting chemicals. I think this is one of those really valuable steps that doesn't get enough attention in this process. Just understanding how tools can indicate different chemicals, but how do you make a decision? How do you weigh the pros and cons? We'll really dive deep into that in this course 3. Course 3 will also discuss chemical hazard assessment tools used by regulators, manufacturers, and retailers. There'll be a case study to assess hazards, classify hazards, and assign benchmarks. Of course, they will discuss the history of third-party evaluation tools, their advantages and disadvantages, and use by business. And then we'll get to know some of the third-party evaluation tools, learn to utilize life cycle thinking and life cycle management. And finally, you'll complete a capstone project to evaluate a chemical or product within a sustainability framework. So with that, we're gonna get a chance to get to know Karolina a bit more. Good morning, Karolina, welcome.
Good morning, how are you today?
Great, thank you. So tell us a little bit more about why you wanted to teach a course with the Green Chemistry and Chemical Stewardship Certificate Program.
Absolutely. Well, so my story actually with a certificate began in 2014 when Yale and UW were tasked to develop a certificate program as a part of a big NSF grant. And the entire reason that this program was initially proposed to the NSF was in response to a growing demand for training that could be obtained by professionals in the field. Mm-hmm. You know, many people over the years indicated that they would love to get more information on how to do green chemistry in their own backyards, and they simply needed something more than just a lecture or a quick workshop. So this is how Green Chemistry and Chemical Stewardship Certificate Program came to be. I was a program administrator for the Center for Green Chemistry and Green Engineering at the time, and I led a number of different initiatives at the center. And after the grant was received, I was asked to help with drafting some of the initial topics that might be of interest to the practitioners. Topics that will cover green chemistry and its principles. And so then agreeing to teach this course that I developed with the help of my peers here at Yale and UW seemed like a great next step. And I really wanted to be able to have a direct connection with participants and see how these developed materials are then used in practice. So that's the short and the long story to your question.
Yeah, I also love that. For people that aren't familiar with green chemistry that much, Yale is also the home to Paul Anastas, who literally wrote the book on the 12 principles of green chemistry. And he is also someone that contributed to this program development. And he has a great welcome message for folks who are considering this program that's on our program website. So it's something for folks to check out. I totally geek out about Paul Anastas, so forgive me for doing so now.
We all do.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that. Can you talk about just some nuts and bolts of the program a little bit? Can you talk about the availability of instructors for questions, or let's say I want to get to know a resource deeper. How does that interaction with instructors work on an online format for this program?
Absolutely. So first of all the instructors are there with you the entire way. So I'm available via email almost any time, and if there are questions that are related to content, I usually reply within 24 hours. I also monitor discussion forum, and there are a couple of times that I chime in with thoughts and comments. As you said, Jill, a little bit earlier, there is a way for participants to showcase their knowledge, to answer to each other comments. So this is the time that we as instructors participate in that exchange with students as well. The entire course is very rich in links and other resources. We typically send additional papers that we think are relevant. And we as a center also developed a number of different educational materials, which I'm always very happy to share with those who want to learn a little bit more and show interest in a specific area. But overall, we are there for the entire class time and answering people's emails, and also providing other resources that are known and available to us through other means.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. This year, there's also been a kind of a office hours option that Pam Eliason has added to course 3 via Zoom for people that want that kind of networking face-to-face or office time with an instructor face-to-face. And I think that that's a format that some of the instructors have been using as well for people who are interested in that sort of interaction. Karolina, can you give me an example of a typical assignment and maybe an example of work turned in by participants?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be happy to. So one of the assignments that we give to students is to investigate different green chemistry case studies that have been proposed and then awarded. These are called Presidential Green Chemistry Challenge Awards, and they are given out annually, first by EPA, and now it's with the collaboration of Green Chemistry Institute. And so yearly, a lot of companies apply to receive that award because it's very prestigious. And so we ask our students to read about these awards and decide whether the award was given to the given company. Does it really stand up to its name? And one award that stood out to me over the years was the one given to Dow Chemicals together with Papier Fabrik based in Germany. And basically this collaboration was awarded that Green Chemistry Challenge Award in 2017 for developing a thermal paper that eliminated the necessity of using chemicals such as bisphenol A or BPA, which is a known endocrine disruptor. And so once one of participants described that specifically, that they think that this is a great innovation worthy of the award, there were numerous comments underneath by other fellow students sharing their own experiences with BPA and how BPA might have affected them in their workplace. For example, someone worked at Trader Joe's for some time in their career, so they were curious how that paper might have affected their lives. Another person was a member of a toxic work group at UCSF. And they knew that the hospital cafeteria was looking to eliminate receipts with BPA. And so it was very interesting to see how this innovation that was recognized by the award then sparked that initial discussion between students. Definitely brought students closer, and there were some great ideas that came out of it.
That's great. I remember one example. So in all full disclosure, I actually took this program as a student about 2 years ago, and I help administer the program as well. And as a student, one of my favorite assignments was a capstone project where you were presented a problem. You were the CEO of a space rocket company, anyone you want to pick from, and you had to assess how we deal with a degreaser product that is going to go to space. So you got some details about the data that's entailed with the different product options, what they cost, what their impact look like, what does their functionality look like, and then you had to make a business decision, a business case for your decision attached to that. And it was actually a really fun project. I mean, it's fun to pretend you're a rocket billionaire, but the best part was getting to kind of see how all these pieces come together that you've been learning about. You can see the impact to your workers and what kind of risk you're posing to your workers. You need the functionality piece to work. You need the business case to work. And I think that part of it really, that's where this program is really strong, that it combines all those principles into one. Karolina, can you talk about any kind of content you've added over the years to the program? I think that this field grows really rapidly, and maybe you can talk about some of the newer innovations that you've seen that are being incorporated into some of the program and curriculum.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be happy to expand on this. So I'm very lucky to work with a lot of really smart people who are around me. I also have an opportunity to work with United Nations Industrial Development Organization that tries to bring green chemistry to different developing countries and countries with emerging economies. And as part of that initiative, we were tasked to develop a number of training materials for practitioners. But these problems were specifically designed for issues that these emerging countries have. And so I was lucky to work with a number of professionals all around the world who shared their stories and their dilemmas and their needs. And so I took these learnings and enriched the materials that hopefully you're able to benefit during the certificate course. One one idea that stood out is people needed the idea of green chemistry metrics. So how do you know that you're actually doing green chemistry? I mean, green chemistry is a very well-defined concept, but how do you measure if you're actually doing something better than what came before it? And so I, knowing that, I added the entire section on how can you measure green chemistry in your backyard. I also thought that's very important to include waste as a subject. You know, we're producing waste almost every day, either on a small scale or industrial scale. So question becomes, how do you go about it? Is there some way of using green chemistry to look at waste as a value product for something else? So rather than burn it and discard it, perhaps there are other creative ways of redesigning waste and using it as a feedstock for something else. So, you know, what we like is this additional piece that you know, we initially didn't think is very important, but our partners around the world made us realize that waste is a great issue, and that's something we should also focus our strength on.
Absolutely. I think one of the most common questions we have about this program is, how do people see themselves using this when they go back to their workplace, or what are the most valuable pieces they can take out of this for a professional? Can you kind of tell me any examples of any students who brought green chemistry projects to their workplaces, or how they use their new skill set?
Absolutely. So it's a very practical course. So rather than a textbook knowledge, you get a lot of practical information on how to do green chemistry. You see case studies of industrial applications. So some people who have been really successful doing green chemistry and are benefiting from doing green chemistry. But content apart. Over years, we had a number of students coming through the program. One of them being a chemistry faculty who took that program 3 years ago, and so she was my student back then. And I remember she always asked very detail-oriented questions and was very passionate about green chemistry and sustainability. Now, what this program allowed her to do is get closer to green chemistry, and so just a couple of months ago, she received a great position at a leading institution in green chemistry education, and so me and her are now working hand in hand. So rather than me being her teacher or her mentor, now we are working as colleagues on different green chemistry, sustainability, and toxicity issues. So, so definitely there is a room for advancement and the room for growth.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about why this certificate program is unique?
This is an excellent question. As far as I know, this is the only certificate program in green chemistry so far. So, and not many courses offer such a holistic approach that brings sustainability, business, green chemistry, and toxicology together. Yeah. And this course, in my opinion, does it beautifully. You know, you start with the big question: why do green chemistry and sustainability are important, and what are some of the business drivers behind it? Then you jump into why we should care about green chemistry from the health standpoint. That's where participants get introduced to toxicology, human health, etc. Then you cover green chemistry innovations and what can you do with green chemistry. As you mentioned earlier, the last section goes very practical and to explore different tools. So it's a very practical course that brings in a number of different instructors with a lot of different viewpoints. But at the end of the day, the course is also very cohesive and follows a very similar structure. So all the practical skills that you learn, you test during your entire course in either individual or group assignments, which I think is also very relevant.
Yeah, and maybe can you give an example of one of the group assignments? I think that those tend to be very fun. Sometimes people get nervous about that sort of work, especially in an online format, but I thought they were quite fun. Can you just describe one of those group assignments?
Sure. So one of the group assignments we had a while back, we asked students to, based on what they learned, how would they convince their colleague or someone else in their office to take a greener approach and introduce green chemistry to their workplace. And so obviously they have to gear up the courage and talk to their either a manager or maybe a friend and convey what they learned and try to convince them that green chemistry is actually a good thing. But that's not the end. Later they have to report back and tell us how it went and arguments they used and what were some responses that they received throughout this process? Because at the end of the day, you do it for your personal development, but you also do it for the greater good. So you need to believe in what you're saying, and hopefully this course gives you enough ammunition to convince others that this is just the right approach.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Karolina. We're going to dive now a little bit into what the program entails. So what you should expect with this certificate program. Each course is a 5-credit class, and it takes 3 classes to complete the certificate program. It is self-paced, and you can expect to spend about 5 to 10 hours per week. Some subjects might need a little more of your attention. Some are ones you already maybe know about. For me, working through course 2, some of those going back to some of those basic chemistry principles, I needed a little more of a refresher, and I took some more time on it. Each course covers 5 modules with a new module every 2 weeks. And there's usually about 1 assignment and 1 activity per module. The course materials are available anytime the module has been opened. So you can work on it anytime, night or day during that time, and you don't have to show up at a certain time to watch a lecture. So it's any time within that 2-week window, you can work on that course material piece within that module. And the deadlines for assignments are usually every 2 weeks. So who might typically apply? Engineers, chemists, material sciences, product managers, supply chain procurement professionals, sustainability consultants and coordinators, environmental managers, health and safety professionals, and risk managers. We have people who join us from private industries we've all heard of. We have had Costco sending people for the last 3 or 4 years in a row. They keep sending people because they see so much value in it. Currently have people from Under Armour, Tommy Bahama, Target. We also have people from government and academic programs attending as well. So there's a lot of variety in the type of people that see value in this work. And it is always really impressive to me to see the different backgrounds that come together to work on green chemistry together as well. Prerequisites, we recommend that you have a 4-year degree, at least 2 years of professional experience. This is it's very practical and it's information based. So we expect you to be able to use this in your workplace right away. And we also a recommended prereq is that people have a basic knowledge of chemistry equivalent to a basic college level chemistry course. The application process is just visit our website at osha.washington.edu for more information on our registration pages. The steps to register: you create an account on our site, you register for 1 or all of the 3 courses, and the registration deadline is 2 weeks before the start of each course. And You can register for courses a la carte, but you won't receive a certificate without successful completion of all 3 courses. Each course is $910 and includes 5 CEUs. And then once you've registered for those courses, you just follow the prompts to check out on our website. And then about a week before the course, you'll be provided with login information to access the course learning environment. And the deadline for registration for course 1 for our next cohort is September 19th, 2020. Another common question is people ask if you can take the courses out of order. You can jump around the courses, but we do recommend you consider taking them as a cohort September to June. And this is mostly because you end up doing some great networking as you work through these different courses that can be really valuable to build on. And the courses do build on each other. So we do recommend that as well. With that, if you have any questions, I'm Jill Teep. I am the program manager for this certificate program. You can reach me at jstod@uw.edu and 206-819-5455. I'm happy to connect you with an instructor or maybe a former student if you'd like to learn more about their experience, or if you have any nuts and bolts questions, feel free to contact me. We really appreciate you taking the time to check out this information session. Thank you so much, Karolina, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. Health and safety to you and your family, and everyone take care. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.